Welcome back, and what a delight to have in the studio with us today Brad Hicks. He's the president and CEO of the Medford Chamber, and this guy keeps track of what promotes business, makes us all work here in Southern Oregon. And I wanted to talk to you about a couple things, Measure 28 and increased minimum wage. But other than that, how's your day going?
I think that's the first time I've been invited to talk about taxes and called a delight in the same sentence.
Well, there you
so
go.
That's pretty cool.
Keep it on the happy side here, but it is it's very earth-shaking that Salem is even. Well, they've gone through the process. It's going to be on the ballot. Measure 28, one of the largest tax hikes in the state's history. What's going on?
Well, interestingly enough, and I haven't vetted this myself to know if this is true, but in addition to being called the largest tax hike in Oregon's history, someone said the other day, and again, I need to see if this is factual, that it may be per capita the largest tax increase in the history of the United States.
Per capita?
Per capita.
Based upon our population?
Correct.
Yeah, really.
So we're talking about almost $6.5 billion in new taxes per 2-year budget cycle in Oregon. Just coming out of a recession, I don't think the Oregon economy can withstand that.
How in the world can these people come up with this and think that Oregon's going to stay in business?
Well, they won't, and I won't name names. I'm not in the business of talking for our members, but I can tell you as I've traveled around the state and talked to business leaders, most of whom would be directly impacted by this. All of us are going to be somewhat directly impacted by it, but some of the companies with the targets on their back are saying, we'll leave. We're going to Idaho, we're going to Nevada, we're going to some other state where this doesn't exist. What it is, Perry, is, and I've heard people explain it a little incorrectly. It's a sales tax. It's a sales tax in disguise. It's actually a tax on sales, and that sounds nitpicky, but the difference is really important.
Gross sales for corporations.
Exactly.
Was it 2.5% or something like that?
Yeah. So by the time this or that gets in your hands as the consumer, I've read that it could be taxed anywhere from 2 to up to 16 times depending on the product by the time it gets into your hands or your, yeah.
All right, so obviously somebody thought this through, put it on. I find it interesting that it gets through the Secretary of State's balloting process, just breezed right through for the signatures and all that. It's going to be on the ballot. How's it polling? You got a feel for it?
Well, I don't have the latest poll. I saw one poll where I'll say we, those of us who are opposing this tax, excuse me, where it was tracking favorably. Oregonians were looking at this and saying, boy, this doesn't make a lot of sense to me, which is good. I haven't seen the latest poll, so I don't want to say until I...
Former Governor John Kitzhaber says, no, this is horrible. I don't know if he still carries any weight, but I mean, when you have a former governor recognizing, the liberal governor saying, no, this isn't good.
Former Governor John Kitzhaber, I had a
Kulongoski, have you heard from him?
I haven't heard what Governor Kulongoski has said, but I did have a breakfast meeting with Ted Wheeler, our state treasurer, who is poised to be Portland's next mayor, and he's adamantly opposed. I know that folks are waiting for our current governor to take a position. She has not yet. I think that would be instrumental before we go into the fall. But I would just say to your listeners, don't be fooled. This is not a tax on 100 large, evil companies whose money leaves the state in wheelbarrows. This is a tax on consumers. So when a single mom goes to the grocery store to buy a carton of milk, that's going to cost a lot more.
All right, how'd this come about? Who came up with this?
My understanding is that it's public employee unions and maybe, I don't know who else, but I think there are multiple groups. So it's, you could look at it and say it's essentially a way to take care of public employee retirement.
Oh, the PERS.
PERS.
Yeah, how we're going to bail that out.
And I say that not because, and I guess I have to be careful, I don't want to be misunderstood.
Yeah.
Nobody begrudges public employees who do a fine job, their salary and their benefits and all those other things. However, there is no guarantee in this. This goes, it's being pitched for education and human services.
All the time.
Goes straight into the general fund.
General fund.
There's no provision that says, hey, we heard from Perry and we heard from Brad and they said they really want this to go
to PERS
here and there,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Goes right into the general fund. So if you trust the legislature to do the right thing with that extra $6.5 billion every 2 years, then maybe it does go to those things.
All right, this is on the back. Well, it's been brewing for quite some time. It'll be on the ballot this fall. In the meantime, the minimum wage thing came out,
Yeah.
which is, I don't know how in the world the minimum wage law could say, well, we're going to do it per capita. We're going to have faster growth in the Portland area and less growth in some other areas. I mean, you talk about equality. That's one of the liberals' big things. But the overall idea of raising minimum wage, none of these people have ever made a payroll. They don't know what they're doing. I mean, again, the consumer gets hit. I mean, restaurants are going to pass it on to the price of food.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that.
Well, not only are they going to pass it on to us in the price of our sandwich or our hamburger,
Yeah.
People are literally being replaced by robots.
Right.
I was just in Southern California for a meeting and ate in a, it was a neat restaurant. It was kind of unique and novel, but it occurred to me that once the hostess dropped me off, I was on my own. And I had a iPad sort of a device in a big heavy metal bracket plopped on my table, and I walked through the whole menu myself and ordered, and somebody came out and dropped it, and that was it.
And then you swipe your card.
Yeah, I swiped my card on the device,
Yeah.
and it probably eliminated, 2 of the people that would normally be part of that process.
Right.
So it's happening out there. That's not hyperbole. It's not Jetson sort of.
No, it's there. It's there. And I think, in our case, where you're dealing with nonprofit corporations, we have to look to automation. We have to look to more computers and things like that.
Well, we've done it. The Chamber, of course, is a not-for-profit corporation, but we're a business too.
Yeah.
And pre-recession, we had 18 employees, and now we hover around 10 to 12.
Wow.
And we're doing the same work.
Yeah.
That's why I have these bags under my eyes.
All right, so we want to know on 28. Have you got the title, what it actually says?
No, they haven't given it a title yet, but I've been told just this week, somebody said it will probably be Measure 90-something.
Okay.
So we're in the 90s, which tells you there's going to be a lot of stuff on the ballot.
Right.
But yeah, Measure 90-something,
Okay.
and that should be out soon. But Perry, this is a bad
Well,
deal.
we might as well put a sign up on I-5 at the California border and the Washington border that says, closed for business.
Careful.
Yeah.
I said that one time and wound up in the Oregonian, and a former governor chewed me out pretty aggressively.
Well, they don't make payrolls.
Yeah.
These people have never figured out money in, money out, and try to keep people employed.
Well, he told me I was the problem because I was being negative.
Well,
And I said, well, all you have to do is look at the tax refugees that are jumping the river and going to Vancouver because they don't want to pay Oregon's high income taxes. And then you look at Idaho, and real Oregon companies that, you can name them, are jumping ship and going to Idaho and Nevada and other states.
And what's really sad about this, Brad, and I know you know this because you're right here and you see it. In Southern Oregon, you and others have worked hard to put in an infrastructure to grow business, but this isn't going to attract any business.
I testified yesterday before the House Subcommittee on Small Business, and essentially I said exactly what you did. Oregon ranks, I think, 5th in the nation for entrepreneurism,
Right.
and new startups and enterprises and things like that. Well, that's usually the only statistic you hear. Isn't that great?
No.
What you don't hear is the Center for Entrepreneurism says we rank in the bottom 10 in terms of entrepreneurial environment.
Right. Right.
So my testimony, I said it's a little bit like the death penalty is really no deterrent to crime, right?
Right.
We have entrepreneurs out there in Oregon pitch until they win because they have no choice. We don't have a lot of major employers here, so people are creative. They're making jobs for themselves, and yet we don't have an environment in which they can be successful.
Well, I want to say thank you for being the watchdog that you and the Chamber do. You guys do an excellent job down there, and if you're not a member, become one.
Hey.
Get a hold of the Chamber. This is what they do. They are the hawks for those of us who make a payroll and are in business. This measure, when it finally gets a number and a title, we'll have you back. We'll further explain it. This one has got to get shot down.
Be happy to.
And but any other thing that's going on in the way of commerce, that's what Brad and his team is all about. So get a hold of them down there. And again, I really encourage you to become members. Thank you, Brad.
Thank you.
Let's keep an eye on that, see where it goes. But boy, we got to hammer this one come this fall. We got to stay on it.
You're right.
And put some money in it and say no.
Yeah, a lot of people are putting a lot of money in this thing.
Good.
Probably a $20 million+ campaign.
Really? Can you imagine? Just so that we can stay in business.
Yeah.
Amazing. Good to see you, bud. Thanks for coming. All right, we'll see you next time on Focus Today.
I'm Paulina Leiser, producer of Focus Today. Thank you for watching this video, and make sure to check our other videos at theDove.us.